What is up, boxing besties? Welcome back to Xicana Boxing on YouTube. And if this is your first time, hi. My name is Lily. I am an independent boxing journalist who sometimes gets on here and yaps about whatever's going on in the boxing world. So if you're into that, plus exclusive content, interviews, behind the scenes at boxing events, go ahead and hit subscribe and we can all become boxing besties. But with that being said, it is Hump Wednesday, and I'm just like, I have a lot of thoughts with all these things happening this week and this month already. So I wanted to get on here and talk about it, see what you guys thought about what's going on. And I want to just start off specifically with Manny Pacquiao officially announcing his return January 24th in Las Vegas. And even though the opponent's not yet like revealed, he did. There's a lot of implication that's going to be Rolly Romero, and um, I don't know. I feel like this was something that we already kind of speculated a little bit, when Romero beat Ryan Garcia in New York in that like atrocious card. But it just feels like still most people are kind of in the same boat where Manny should retire. And as much as those arenas get filled up, I've been to a couple Manny Pacquiao fights. I've covered my first Manny Pacquiao fight with the Barrios title challenge back in July, was it? And it was amazing, and the energy that you feel and the love that the fans give Manny is insane. But it is still like, oh my God, okay, kind of like every time you kind of feel like it's the last time, and it isn't. And with this comes a lot of with fighters and coaches saying, well, you just sometimes you just can't hang it up, or you're addicted to the preparation. And with Manny, a lot of people even feel that because he's already been active, right, that he's going to have even a better performance this time around, and let's say Rolly Romero than he did against a Mario Barrios because like he's now been more active. He had that fight in between such a long break. But also, this brings a lot of speculation about him being like owing money to the IRS, or doing, needing money to fund his campaigns in the Philippines and all these things. And it's like, that's something that there's a lot of speculation we get also with Mayweather, right, as to why, they still do things like this. But with Manny, it's just the amount of preparation that he still does, the amount of effort. It's not like when Manny goes in the ring, you don't feel like he's just in there for a paycheck. I feel like Manny still tries his best, and even seeing him overperform a much younger, though obviously not as skilled, Mario Barrios was at his age was honestly terrific to witness in person. So with him returning, it's just like, oh, as a media person, like, am I excited to cover another event? No, kind of, because again, I just feel kind of like I love you, Manny. Please retire. We don't want to see you hurt. And it's more than just numbers, right? But um when it comes to fight week, yes, because like I mentioned in previous videos, only besides Canelo, right before that, it was all Manny, and Mayweather, the ones that were able to bring such a crazy amount of people to Las Vegas and to these fan events that preview fight week. So in that aspect, yes, I would love to experience it again, but I don't want it at the expense of Manny Pacquiao being hurt, if that makes any sense. And I don't know, Rolly Romero, I guess, seems like the perfect opponent in the way that maybe Manny could still, with his IQ beat someone like Rolly, but Rolly also has power, right? There's the same reason why Ryan was paralyzed after being knocked down early in their last fight. You know how Rolly even became to be in this position. But I think this is the fight that a lot of people feel that because Rolly is more of a trash talker, Manny should be able to still kind of dance around him. But Rolly's still a dangerous puncher. So I don't know. Or maybe just some sort of ¿cómo se dice? Una exhibition, maybe. I hope it would, just fuel another fight to this type of circuses that we've been getting. But I would also kind of prefer it if it's an exhibition, because he did name in the ad that it looks like it's an ad, right? He's just like, it looks like he's reading a script. He did mention a platform that I hadn't heard from. So I don't know. This might be an exhibition. And if it's that, then like good for him also. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who do you guys think it's an opponent? And if it is Rolly, what do you guys think? Do you guys feel like Rolly's gonna knock him out, or what are we doing here? Another thing that sparked some debate in the socials lately, it's the fact that a lot of people are now voting for the Hall of Fame ballot. The writers, the people in boxing who have the privilege to be voting, are posting on social media that, hey, it's time. Who should I vote for? Or saying my first three picks is this. Who else should it be? Right? And there's the main people who are the more established writers historically wise and just senior boxing writers, like writers from the ring, are immediately like, oh, Triple G is the first ballot Hall of Famer. And that kind of sparked a lot of controversy, at least within social media, because people want these writers to name, you know, Triple G's best three wins, and were there as monumental as the other people in the who have been there longer, right? And with this came a lot of, immediately, well, what about in this case, the one I saw recently was Jermel Charlo, right? Well, wouldn't Jermel Charlo be in those standards that we're holding Triple G? Then he should also be a first ballot Hall of Fame because he was undisputed at 154, right? And he's had a solid resume. I think Jermel Charlo is the better of the two brothers, and I do feel like even though he was lackluster in that Canelo fight after talking so much about how he could beat Canelo, um, I still feel like, well, he didn't beat Canelo. I'm not gonna hold him up to that. I didn't think he would, but also, I think that was more for the money, right? And other than that, his resume is pretty freaking solid, especially the second Castaño fight, which he adjusted to pretty well. Because the first one, a lot of people feel that it slipped for him, that he should have lost instead of retain his belts with a draw. So I think Jermel, with an example like Jermel, not necessarily to even pinpoint or make it about Jermel right now because he's still supposedly active, right? According to those stupid ass AI images that they've been dropping. Anyway, it calls for more attention to why these writers picked, or why these people who have access pick certain people, not based on just pure favoritism, but with what is the standard, right? Or when you compare them again to the other people who have been in the ballot for longer, whose accomplishments may not seem as flashy and like recency bias, or even, oh well, it wasn't this person or this division, or had this asterisk behind them, right? They still have more notable names, or within their division it was a more notable win, which I know we can say, well, Triple G was avoided, and that could be a valid point within its own argument. But I don't think it matters in the Hall of Fame. In the Hall of Fame, whether you fought the people and you beat them or you didn't, and that's what gets you in there, right? Or even if you lost, those losses were with such grit, and they brought on so many more fights to come, and it actually elevated your worth that get you there. These are not fights that a lot of people feel that are worthy of Hall of Fame first ballot, at least, um privileges, I guess. But let me know what you guys think. I love Triple G, and I don't really like to like myself have an opinion on these things because I'm not a boxing historian. Like, I'm gonna not know maybe a bunch of those people in that list, right? And I'm not gonna pretend to know them or know why they deserve to be over maybe somebody else that I just because I know them, right? So I'm always welcome to more suggestions, see what you guys think. So let me know in the comments. Actually, something that did make me laugh is that I think what the first time that I saw this topic was outside of social media. Actually, I was on YouTube, and it was suggested a video. I think about a ring interview with Ryan Garcia, and I was like, Ryan Garcia doesn't believe Triple G is a Hall of Famer because who has he fought, right? Like that same argument that we just had, and it's like, again, valid argument, but for if I were Ryan Garcia, someone who has like had just minor belts, and every time I've stepped to the plate, like I just don't, it doesn't end well for me. Like, I would just not say anything because, and I know it's just the media asking him questions, but like the way you respond, like to me, I'm like, Ryan, like the fighters that you have fought, like have that are notable, right? Like have beat you, but then at the same time, who have you fought besides the times that we have lost? I don't know. We also had the Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz press conference, and that was in San Antonio. And the fight's gonna be in San Antonio, and I love San Antonio. I'm glad that it's getting more events, because it's a really cute city. But anyway, as much as I feel like this fight it's a decent fight, right, on paper, to me it just feels like the leftovers of like a Tank Davis, like, unfinished business, where it's like, okay, well, he's doing this now, so what can we do? right? And it's like, well, this, and it's like, okay, right? And it's intriguing because it's Lamont Roach ascending another division, right? And against someone who is such a volume guy, even if you don't feel like Pitbull has that power, because he does have multiple, and he has a lot of decisions. Also, he's not just a power guy, and he doesn't get you with one punch. But anyway, he just overwhelms you, right? So for someone to be going up again in weight, and against someone who's gonna like try to be at you the whole time, I think it makes it an intriguing fight. But at the same time, I just feel like Lamont Roach has showed us that he can box. Like, even if you feel that the level of opposition he's faced is not world level, he's had enough fights that have different styles and he's outboxed most of them, right? And I feel like with Pitbull Cruz, especially with the Rayo fight, he proved that he can be outboxed, like, pretty. No, I don't want to say easily because I know that cost Rayo his, literally another knockout. But there's ways to get around Pitbull, and there's ways to outbox him, especially if you don't just follow his game like Fierro, which what the heck was a kick? But anyway, with Angel Fierro, he chose to fight Pitbull's fight because that's also his style. So with this is just to me, I just feel like Lamont Roach should win this fight, and it might just be like one of those fights that I'm not saying it's gonna be disappointing, but it might just be an out like a I'll box a 12 rounder, and there's nothing wrong with 12 rounders, but I think again, just because I feel like this is like a leftovers of what the tank fight, or like a picking up the pieces, putting other pieces together. I'm just like, okay, I'll look forward to see what the undercard brings, and hopefully it's a good solid event. But I'm not like super, oh my god, this fight's amazing. But let me know what you guys think. Are you guys like excited for it? Let me know. And are you going? Let me know. And I guess speaking of Rayo Valenzuela, he announced earlier the week that he is a free agent now, and I mean, with I didn't to me it didn't make sense him taking the fight with Russell Jr., right? Like, to me, I'm like, he's gonna lose. Like, that just because he outboxed again Pitbull Cruz, who's just limited because he's gonna follow you, that doesn't mean he can outbox someone like the Russell, any Russell brother, right? So to me, that fight just never made sense. And to me, I'm like, does this mean Rayo just wants to like doesn't mind losing the belt, even though like he recently got it? Like, what's happening? Or was this more like PBC telling him like, hey, you have to fight Russell? Or like, what I don't know what happened there. These are just different things that I feel like could be a possibility. But I never understood that fight, given the other way he could have been at he could have gone at 140, which with other people that he's had, like beef with, like the female who he claims that he beat during sparring or dropped during sparring, even Ryan, right? Like, just a lot of people, and maybe not even them, but just literally anybody else at 140. But he had parted ways with Benavides Sr. Last year, not amicably, from what I remember. I think they kind of like lost like an connection in a bad way. But now he's a free agent, and I don't know. I'm gonna try to go to Roberts next week, and I'm gonna ask him if he's still involved with Rayo, because as far as I remember, he was. But maybe he's starting over and dropping everybody, because I know that he had gone back to his early trainer, one of his early trainers, right? So I do wish I could get an interview with Rayo. So whenever if he is at RGB, I'll try to get one. But that's just he's a free agent now. A lot of people say maybe he should go to Matchroom, right? Go with Eddie. Other people say, just Golden Boy. Golden Boy would build him up. And I don't know. I feel like either or is fine because Rayo's at 140, and I feel like that's a lot of possibilities there, regardless of who he goes to, in my opinion, right? Because the champions right now on 40, I feel like have different promotions anyway. So I feel like he should be good at 140, regardless of who he signs with. And I guess also kind of relevant with Benavides Sr., he recently also announced that him and Diego Pacheco parted ways amicably, though. He kind of made a little press release of a social media post thanking Diego Pacheco for the trust and saying, hey, like we're parting ways amicably and we're not longer going to be associated. And I wonder who Pacheco's going to now have in his corner. I know that he is, his dad is also in his corner, or another local childhood trainer, but I'm not sure about who else, right? Because besides, um, Benavides Senior, who I'm pretty sure was also like managing him in a way as well, or co-managing him. I'll try to get the details myself as well, and maybe like other journalists who are more dedicated to on-site interviews and have more access, faster access, already have that information, right? But yeah, like that's another person who like parted ways or whatever. Another thing that like I saw this morning and it's really really sad is Arturo Gatti Jr. also was found allegedly, right, hanging in Mexico, and this is quite the same thing as his dad, right? And that's why it's creating so much more controversy. And I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, I'm not a big Gotti Ward person because I wasn't born in the United States and I didn't really follow the boxing scene as a child like that, other than Mexican boxing, right? And whoever the Mexicans fought. And even though, again, I'm not a boxing historian and I watch the fight, I see why, people love their fights. But I just, as a Mexican, I'm like, yeah, I see those type of fights like all the time. So I just know this story more from like the true crime aspect because I love true crime. So this is more how I learned about, his, the book that was published kind of alleging that it was a, you know, planned attack. According to some reports, and other reports are already speculating that again, just like with his dad, all the speculation there that this was a planned attack. Which some have been saying they gotta look out for his mom, aka the former wife. So this is kind of just really sad because this is at the end of the day of the regardless of the speculation, this is a 17-year-old kid, a teenager. I have a 13-year-old and I could not imagine facing any of these situations. So my condolences deeply to anybody in his family and his loved ones because this has got to be a very dark time, and I think collectively, instead of you know adding to the speculation in such a way, we should kind of you know share either other people's moments with him or just our condolences, because I think the speculation, especially right now so soon, are kind of not coming from the best angles, right? So my condolences to his loved ones, and may he rest in peace. And lastly, to end, I guess, on a more relaxed note, it is Boots Ennis fight week. And I'm going to be real honest with y'all. I didn't know it was his fight week until like I was thinking over the weekend, like, oh, what am I going to write for my newsletter this weekend? Which y'all should subscribe to at XicanaBoxing.com. I'm like, what am I going to write about? Who's fighting? Let me check. I didn't even, I knew that he was fighting, but I just didn't know it was this weekend. So I was like, oh my God, he's fighting. And like I know that him and Hearn are pushing for the fact that this is just a leap at, 154 to get their feet wet and then go after the big names. And as controversial as that is, like, yeah, I guess if we took the direction instead of facing guys, in his division at 147 and like making the good fights there after finally unifying. And yes, Estaniones was a really good opponent, a really good fight, but then because he passed that test, we wanted to see Ennis against other guys at 147. Regardless, now 154, it is a smart thing to do, whether we like it as fans or not. And, media, it is a smart thing for him to, I guess, test the waters at 154 before getting in there with the Virgils, right? Which he allegedly ducked. Um, and all the other guys at 154, that right now, that division is insane. So, guys, he's fighting is from Angola, and he lost against this Irish kid, McKenna, who used to be with Golden Boy. I'm not sure if he is anymore. But that McKenna kid is good, but not like amazing, which kind of makes it be like, oh, well, if the McKenna kid beat him, which again, nothing against the McKenna kid, but he's never really been at the world level. It makes me feel like this is just an easier fight for Boots than like they'd like to admit. And I feel like if they really want to get their feet wet, it would be at least against someone better, right? But I think this just kind of hurts a little bit of Boots' marketability, at least in the local level. He's been at a comeback, a homecoming, right? Like 3 times already, I believe. And it's like, bro, you haven't fought. Like, I mean, the standing in this fight again. My bad. That one was good. I give him that. That fight was good. I'm gonna shut the hell up because that fight was good and the promo was good. So let me stop. But again, then it's been done, right? And it's like, I know they're making him be like, oh, he keeps fighting here, but I just wish the opponents drew in, a better crowd, I guess. But at the same time, it does bring a lot of attention to Philly boxing, and it does build a lot of Philly boxing culture, because it's a lot of guys that Ennis already promotes in the undercard as well, and or against other local guys. So I do feel like, you know what, at the end of the day, it may be like, dang, like fight someone a little better again, or you were just getting started to like giving us what we wanted, and you kind of went back to like someone we have to box wreck. It can get frustrating, but I guess it does come with those benefits where they're pumping out, accessible events in the local area and building boots as a local talent. So when hopefully a big fight comes, I just pray they don't take them to Riyadh, or they, expect people, those same people, all of them to follow him to Vegas. I feel like then all, the big fights with Boots should be in Philly, unless he's the B side, which I guess he would be against all these champs. So I don't know. What do you guys think about Boots? What do you know about his opponent? Do you feel like he's, kind of just prolonging victories that he could have had, like he did at 147, not 154? And don't forget to check out my newsletter, which goes a little, into his background and his opponent as well. And I've been yapping for long enough, but let me know what you think. I will be doing weekly content. So I hope you do enjoy if you made it this far. Yeah, I'll see you on the next one.